to spin this wheel here, and the problem with this is that the brake pad is stuck. Not stuck tight, but enough. Hey, wheel doesn't spin, it just stops. They should freewheel pretty easily. So we'll show you both. We'll probably do 2 separate videos here, but we'll get 2 jobs out of it. I'll get one rear wheel bearing. Sounds like that's on the other side. And we'll do a stuck pad here as well and show you how to fix that up. So I'm in the last lug nut here on the driver's side with the stuck brake pad. So we'll go from here. We'll pop this wheel off, pop the brake pads off, lube up the caliper pins, and be pretty simple job. It's just frustrating when you're in one thing and you find another thing. So let's see what we got going on here. So to do this job with the brake pads, what we got to do is we got to pull out this one and this one down here, and that way what we can do is we can pull the caliper off, and then we can get to the pins which are in here in these boots. We can re-lube them up, make sure the pads are in a good situation, and then we can put it back together. So start off here, we'll use a 14 millimeter, and we're gonna just get those to pop. Take them out. One here and one on the bottom. Then they usually come out pretty easily. I've done this job on this car for whatever reason. This is the only vehicle I've ever had where the rear brakes lock, like the pins just lock up all the time. Other than that, been a fantastic vehicle. Oh, got a lot of miles on it. So, a couple minutes, pry this off. Okay, so there we are. And what we do is check these. Yeah, these pins are totally locked up, so this thing's not moving at all. The actual pads don't look bad. Move my light over here. We see we've got quite a bit of pad here, quite a bit here, so they're still good. I'm gonna make sure they move. This front one hasn't been moving a lot. There's little springs in here. You want to keep those. They keep the pads from rubbing on the bearing, or on the the rotor, so you get better fuel mileage, and they don't make noise then. How we notice this on the Prius is really nice. You notice actually the fuel mileage go down. Like, anyone that's got one of these knows that the fuel mileage is very consistent. I mean, this thing's 11 years old, 12 years old already, and it still gets almost 50 miles per gallon. And if it goes down to 47 or 48, something's up. So what I do here to get these pins out is actually this a 17 millimeter socket here, and I just put them on there and kind of give them a little jerk, move them around just to see if they're actually stuck. They're not going to want to move at all. So what you can do is kind of give them a little bit of movement here, and I'm going to see slowly what we can do is pry. I'll grab another tool here and I'll show you how we feel more persuasive. I know you guys are probably expecting some big hog hammer to come out, but no, I just use a little punch and a hammer here because I don't want to damage these rubber. Oh my gosh, this is a terrible one. This is gonna be fun. I'm still working at it, and I remember why this is such a nightmare is there's actually a little rubber grommet inside of this bore. And when I get it out, I'm going to show you what the problem is, and hopefully I don't destroy it on the way out. I'm going to get this out. So I got the top one out. You can see here's this little indent here. Like I said, there's a little rubber piece that goes in there, and I've got this pick here, and I have to actually pick it out the back side. You won't be able to see that, but it slid pretty much right out to the end. So I'm going to try to get it without damaging it is the key. Of course, it's always the try. Let's see if we can do it. There she goes. Okay, so this is a little part that causes all the excitement right there. It's just a little bitty piece of rubber. So what we'll do is clean all this up, get it lubed up. I'll probably turn this thing around, go the opposite way this time. It's still usable. So get the other one off, and we'll get it put back together, make sure everything's moving good, and hopefully it works for another 30,000-40,000 miles. Seems to be what I get out of these before I got to do this. Okay, after about 10 minutes, I got this the bottom one out, and then what I do is I take a piece of paper towel, and I got a reamer here, but you can use a drill bit too. And it's a smaller, much smaller diameter than the actual hole, and I'll try to get it in there a little bit with some paper towel. Just spin it. You might not get it in all the way, but that's all right. I mean, I can get in at least half of the way there, and try to do that. I would suggest using like a shop rag or something, a paper towel that's pretty strong for this. A rag would be the best, because you do not want to leave pieces in there. And you got to play the games of everything else. This one broke through, but you can see there's a lot of dirt on there. I don't mess with it too much. And then what I do is I'll use this stuff. You can see I've done this a few times because I got the big jug of it. I use the CRC synthetic brake and caliper grease, and I'll use that all over on here, really, because this stuff actually seems to hold up a lot longer than the small tubes like the Permatex I've bought in the past. And I'll put a little bit on the clips here for the brake pads. You don't want to get any on your pad surfaces or on the disc rotor, so just be careful with that. But that helps those move smoother. And then I just lube these pins up real good. So get them lubed up, put a bunch on there, get this thing up in the hole here. Make sure there's plenty of lube up in there. Make sure the pins are lubed really, really well. You can put too much lube. I'll warn you about that, because what happens then is the lube won't. There's not a lot of space in there, so you can basically create like a hydraulic lock. Here's a new rubber seal. Just a tip is put that in its seat first. That way you can get it in there, push it in, and get it all seated flat before it's all greased up and you got the bolt in there. All right, things look pretty good. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to spin this thing slowly, get it to work back into that hole. What you don't want to do is get that rubber seal to come off. So it's what makes your life difficult both in and out, I guess, if you want to call it that. And as soon as we can get that moving in, we'll be in a good spot. But there is, I noticed on the original Toyota ones, there's like an air relief portion on that rubber piece so that the air can get out. But once you got a lot of oil on there, grease, it doesn't seem to work real well. So you just kind of got to work it. It will go. And there's that one. Okay, so you can see now we have some movement here. It slides back and forth fairly easy, actually. I'm going to get this, keep tapping it until the rubber, and you can see here it just moves by hand and comes out on its own. So once we get this rubber piece in there, then we'll be ready to move on to the bottom, and we're going to do the same thing. So this little rubber seal is a little bit of a bugger to get in there too at the end. I don't know if it's the grease pushing it out or air doesn't want to compress in there. So it seems like if you can get your fingers in there and kind of work it around the seat, it does go. But you just, like anything, you just gotta sit there and work at it for a little while until it gets too ridiculous, and then you gotta swear at it for a while. So that looks pretty good. And then I just smashed the thing all the way in, and there we go. Now we got a working pin. You can see it's nice and smooth. It moves back and forth on its own. It's not as perfect as I like it to be, but we're gonna work at it a little bit here and get things moving around. We're to spin this. There she goes. Okay, one done. One more to go. And there we are. Now, what we got to do is put our pads back on, and then we also got to compress our brake rotor, or brake caliper, because it's expanded a little bit and it's hard to get these back in. So we have our front side here. Again, I put a little bit of grease just on the slides. We've got our back side here. Okay, that one looks good. We're gonna put these springs back in there, hold these apart. And I gotta find little holes for those. Make sure they're in the holes, not pushing out on the side. There she is. Okay, and they pop over quite readily now. And okay, I forgot. This is the twisty one. Toyota makes these so these are self-adjusting. So what you can do when we crank back in is you just put up pliers on this star-shaped caliper here. Just want to make sure we don't ruin this seal here. Don't want to ruin that. I'll put a little lube on there, and we'll get it working back and forth before we go too hog wild on turning this thing back in. It's righty tighty, lefty loosey. So if you want it to go in, just like you'd imagine it. Okay, WD-40 there got the seal to work. Now I'm just gonna crank this in. So it turns out this caliper was stuck a little bit too. So what I ended up doing is just going in here and tapping it lightly with a hammer. Not hard, just lightly. Just free it up, and then it worked no problem. I just went in here. You turn this to the right, clockwise, however you like to hear it, and then it goes. It cranks right back in, no problem. So this caliper wasn't really badly stuck. I was just surprised that it was stuck at all because I've never had that issue here. So what we're gonna do is we'll put this back on. Make sure everything slides in nice and smooth. Everything's fitting good. And when you apply the brakes for the first couple times, it'll be mushy. But once you hit them a few times, they'll line right back out and get dialed into where they need to be for these particular pads and the wear level that they're at. So that'll be that. I'll put this back together, put the wheel on. If you're enjoying this content, please like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Thank you.